While the magic in Secret of Mana is certainly flashy, it's not your only option for fighting off the enemy forces. Throughout the course of the game, you'll also acquire the aid of 8 different weapons. As you fight with these weapons, you'll level them up as well, and gain various charge attacks. That's what we'll be covering this time. And hey, the girl and the sprite already got some screen time in the demos, so we'll let the hero take charge for these. First, we'll cover the close-range weapons, and the first of those is perhaps the most important weapon, the sword. This is a good all-around weapon with decent range and power. This one is the first weapon you'll find in the game. For the most part, the sword charges are fairly straightforward. A lot of jumping, lunging slashes, but they certainly get the job done. Sometimes you get fancy little things like that little twirl of the sword there. The main thing is just trying to keep in mind the range. The sword doesn't have the best range out there, but still very good, as illustrated with this one. Not even in a straight line with the hero, and yet the strike still landed. With all the charges, it's mainly a point of knowing what the charge does, and which is best for what situation. For instance, charge 6 here is great when you're surrounded. One thing to keep in mind, it's not illustrated here, but things like magic attacks can knock you out of charges, so that can be kind of irritating. Also remember, once you're up to a level 8 charge, you can take your time to use it. So make sure you're lined up well and let the enemy have it. Next up, we have the spear. Given to you by Luca upon visiting the Water Palace, this weapon has a bit more range than the sword. Its power levels are comparable to the sword as well, making it quite a useful class. As far as the close-range weapons go, the spear has a definite advantage of range, especially once you start using charge attacks. Things like that spinning move really help out. Though it is kind of weird to tell, because sometimes the spear spinning around doesn't actually count as a hit, such as here. Other times it does, though, and it definitely helps out on the range. But even here, it still has a good wide angle of attack. There, for instance, that spin definitely counts as a hit and has a good range. That makes the spear a very useful weapon, especially for charges. Enemies surrounding you? No problem. But for instance there, that first spin didn't count, but the last one did, so it can be a little tricky to get used to. But still, as far as charge attacks go, the spear definitely has some of the best. Third on the list is the axe. Available for sale from Watts the Blacksmith, the axe is a powerful but slow weapon. The charges reflect this, not having quite as much range as other weapons, but delivering brutal strikes. As far as charge attacks go, those from the axe can feel a little bulky and clumsy, but they certainly pack some power. One thing to note, though, is they do suffer from somewhat of a short range. Unless all your enemies want to cooperate and get right in front of you, you're not going to clear massive crowds with this. However, if they're nice enough to get close, yeah, they're gonna die a painful, horrible, axe-flavored death. One thing worth noting is lunge attacks from the axe, they don't propel you forward all that much, so you do still have to get fairly close to your enemy in order to use them. Now, Charge 6 is the exception to the rule and is still a decent crowd clearer. As you start getting to higher levels, they will start moving you forward more, such as this. But still, the range is a bit of an issue. But still, if you want wholesale axe murder, this is definitely the way to go. The last of the close-up weapons is the glove. This one comes already equipped once you get the girl to join the party. This is the shortest range weapon, but what it lacks in range, it makes up for with pure, unadulterated style. The gloves are a little strange because they kind of seem like a bit of a misnomer. I mean, certainly you throw a lot of punches with them, but that's not all. Nice uppercut there. The gloves can also give you strange little kick attacks, like that. So, it's not so much just gloves as more like martial arts mastery. But misnomer aside, the gloves can be a pretty fun weapon, albeit very short-ranged. The charges for the gloves usually let loose quite a flurry of attacks, so at least it makes up for the short range with a good number of chances to hit the enemy. I'd like some pound cake! The higher charges get even sillier. Nice Hadoken! And of course, the final one is just plain crazy. That mid-air flying kick just kills me.